Hey everyone, so in this video I wanted to do a quick review of a couple elements that have been added with Unity 2021.1, and for the rest of the video I'll just refer to it as 21.1. And the reason why I want to mention this is because it addresses one of the long-standing issues with Unity that a lot of the members of the community have complained about, and that is the fact that it's a fractured development environment, and that is you download the newest version of Unity and it's missing so much. And I think it makes for a very bad experience for new users. So they've been building up the HDRP for a few years now. So some of the things I'm about to mention may have already been in place, but the fact that they've made it so accessible, I think it's really ready for prime time. The fact that they've given you this full scene now, I'm not going to review this scene. You can see videos about that already. But the fact that they've given so much, I think that they're finally in a position where it's becoming much more accessible to the new user. Now, to be clear, you have to make sure you choose the right project. You need to choose HDRP. And again, this has been here for a while, but this scene has recently been updated because up until recently, it was just a tiny little like workbench. It was literally like two walls, a floor, and like a workbench and a few lights. Now they've really built up a lot, and so you can use that to help understand how different things work. It's not a full tutorial per se, but I think it's definitely a great template to use. Anyway, so if you choose HDRP, you get the high definition render pipeline, you get the scene. We're not going to use the scene. I want to point out that when you create new scenes, what you get there. So if we go to new, you get basic indoor, basic outdoor, and these two come with the default 3D project. So we're going to do basic indoor. So if I click on create, it's going to ask me to save it somewhere, so I'll do that and then be right back. And as you can see, it opens to the scene. Now, this alone is a nice addition. It's not a big difference, but the fact that they differentiate between an indoor and outdoor scene, the main difference I think is they modify the main camera. So rather than having a skybox, it uses a dark color and it uses a spotlight rather than a directional light. I believe are the two main differences. But that's not really what I want to get down to. I want to get down to the fact of what this does come with. So let's take a look at the spotlight. So a few things I want to mention about this. For one thing, shape. Usually a spotlight was just a cone and that's what you were stuck with. Well, now if you come here to the sub component of shape, you now have pyramid and now you have box. So this is huge. Like for instance, I recently made a game where there was an AoE effect and it was like a perfect rectangle. I didn't have a great way of adding light around it. Now I can because now since it's a perfect rectangle, so I could just use a rectangular light around this because you can see you can independently change the X and the Y so you can make it more elongated one direction if you wanted to. Okay? So that's the first big thing is you can change the shape of the light. Second of all, there are volumetrics. So what are volumetrics? It is, as the name would suggest, you can give light volume, okay? Because up to this point, again, for those of you who didn't use HDRP, you would have a light and you would simply see the light on the surface. You didn't see anything in between, okay? So if you wanted to see a so-called sun shaft, okay, you wanted to see a beam of light, you wouldn't see the beam, you'd only see where the light touches a surface and it would cast the shadow, that kind of thing. But you didn't actually see the beam of light. There were like third-party mods you can get, or you could put a particle system with tiny, tiny particles. So there were ways around it, but this is just built in now. It's just a component or a subcomponent, if you want to call it that. So all you have to do is you can see by default it's enabled. And again, this is the little details that make a difference because now a new user doesn't have to stop and think and say, talk up in terms of sun shafts and beams of light, that it's already here. It's a volumetric, it's enabled, and now they can already utilize it. So if you click on the multiplier here, you can really see what I'm talking about now, where you can see the light in midair. See that? And the third thing that I want to mention, and because it's actually pretty evident already, let's see if we can make that little icon disappear there. Notice something? You also have glow here. Okay, so in addition to this, you also have glow. So you already have built-in glow effects because I mentioned before about post-processing that if you used a generic 3D project, you would and you wanted things to glow, like Tron, you want maybe an outline to glow or something like that. You had to install post-processing and then the post-processing layer and volume and then a few other things. Now it's just built right in. And so I think that's a huge, huge step forward, particularly for new users, because I think I already mentioned it, is that so many projects from new users have the new Unity look, as I refer to it, and that you could just tell it was made by Unity in Unity and it was by someone who really wasn't that experienced. I'm not trying to speak badly of them. They might have been doing a game jam or something like that, so there might have been other limitations, but a lot of times you see it has that Unity look to it, and I think it's because the new users simply didn't know about these features. Okay, so I think that's the three things that I wanted to mention about the indoor scene is the shape of the light, the volumetrics of the light, and the fact that the light already glows and that you don't have to do any kind of post-processing installation package. Okay, so let's go ahead and create the other type of scene. So File, New Scene, Basic Outdoors, same thing, it's going to ask me to save, so I'll do that and be right back. Okay, so we are back, and if we just change the angle, you'll see already that there's kind of this faint fog in the background. Because generally speaking with games, you want the viewable distance to only go just so far. And there's a couple ways to keep it going, to stop going out that far. Like you can change the viewable distance, but then that's just a clean cutoff, and that might not look good. And then you have pop in and things like that. So what you can do is you can create a fog, and usually in the old version of Unity, I'd use a particle system. Again, not great. So now you can just have this kind of like an ambient fog out there. So if you notice, so you click on Sky and Fog Volume, and it's got over here, you already have this fog component, subcomponent, whatever you want to call it. You can see it's enabled, and then there's just things you can do, like fog attenuation distance. If you do that, you can change how far away the fog is, so you can bring it like in really close. All right. It's probably too close. You're probably in the middle of it there. Or, like for instance, you can only see like 1, 2, 3 horizontal lines and it kind of disappears. If you push this out much more, you can see more lines out there, although the angle makes it a little bit tougher to see. But still, you get the idea that it definitely looks further out there. So if we run this, so let's run this at 100. Pretty thick fog. And now, and if there was more things in the scene, it would be far more obvious. You can see how it cleared up, just adding, and obviously you can definitely see the distance much more clearly. Again, it's not as obvious because of the, we don't have anything there. As you can see, max fog distance is 1,000, so you can go out even further. Even that's sharper now. So the fact that you can have this built-in fog, I think, is really remarkable because that's always a common issue is that if you can see out into the distance, what do you do to stop it? And again, you can reduce the visible distance of the camera. Like if you take camera, I believe it's a clipping plane. You would reduce the clipping plane, but then again, you would have pop-in. Like as soon as something got into the clipping plane, it would suddenly be there, no matter what size it was. So the fog will definitely have a more natural transition. So just a couple of things because these are really full tutorials to go into all these. I just really wanted to highlight these because there's one more thing I want to mention as well. But like for the volumetric fog, it's already enabled albedo, so you can actually change the color of the fog. So I can click here. Now you got red fog, that kind of thing. So I think that's about it. Like I said, it'd be a tutorial to go through all these individual things. I'm not going to do that. Not in this one. This is just trying to highlight some of the big things and to spread the word. If you know people who are using Unity, tell them not to use the default project anymore, to go right to the HDRP. And lastly, Oh yeah, it's a new 3D component. So let's actually create, so we're going to go 3D object. We'll just create a cube just so we have something to see. Okay. Let's make sure the camera can actually see the cube. It can. Let's just bring it a little bit closer. Now, I don't know when they added this, and I've had numerous tutorials talking about how to do what I'm about to show you mainly, but again, the idea that this is now built in. If you go up to Game Object and 3D Object, they finally added something new. So cube, sphere, capsule, cylinder, plane, quad, these have been here for a very long time, but now they have mirror. Because normally to do a mirror, you would have to fake it, like you'd have to take a camera and you'd have to set a material. I'm trying to remember the type of material it was. Um, Sorry, I don't remember offhand. I have a tutorial about it, but basically you'd have to create a material where the source of the material is the camera. So the camera is the source for the material, and then you apply the material to an object, and you can effectively turn it into a mirror or a portal or something like that. Well, now you can just create a mirror. And so you can see it's a plane. And so if we do this, and because it's a plane, all right, that means you wouldn't see it from the other side. And there we go. You can see the reflection there. But yeah, you're seeing through it. So for a second, I thought it was reflection. It's not. You're seeing through this auto. So like in a police interrogation room. So let's just rotate the camera around a little bit because I'm not certain we would see that from that angle. So there we go. It's kind of flickering, but I think it'll be fine when we look at it. Yep, there it is. So not quite sure why this flicker. Um, I'd have to take a look at that because obviously you wouldn't want that in your scene, but otherwise you got yourself a mirror just like that, really easy. It looks like it's a very low resolution mirror, so this might be worthy of a tutorial. And I suspect that's probably also why we've got the flicker because you can see this is really jagged even though this is not. So I think that would probably be worth doing a tutorial for, is to do a deep dive into um, do a deep dive into making that look better because that looks kind of jagged at the moment. So, all right, I think that's about it. So I hope you found this helpful. So again, this is probably the happiest I've been about Unity in a very long time. That if you're using the HDRP, you have a lot of built-in effects now. It really is going to be great for new users. I understand that the reason why they have the default 3D project is it's meant to be easier on lower end systems. But I think that with every year computers get faster, video cards get faster, and hopefully they won't see a need for that because again, I think that in long term it hurts them because you have users who don't know the verbiage, they don't know what to ask for, they don't know how to add these things, and so just have it built in that you create a new scene and hey, it's got sky and fog already, and hey, you can add a mirror this easy, and hey, you can have volumetric lighting this easy that I think it's really going to help new users. So I think that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if there's any new features in 21.1 that you'd like to see covered because I'm thinking of doing one or two more of these because there's a few things I want to point out. But these were ones that had really bothered me for quite some time. Again, the idea of having distance fog and post processing and the ability to make things glow. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do a short emissive material video. So again, let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see from 21.1, and I will more than likely do all my projects in 21.1 going forward. I just finished up my first complete game that is available on itch.io if you're interested in checking that out. And I hope you found this useful, and please enjoy the rest of your day.